Dami Fadun. So, Dami, can you just introduce yourself to us here?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dami Fadun, and yes, we actually had a pre-rehearsal before this, so gonna have to repeat again. But yeah, excited for this. I like to describe myself as a Christian creative, and I'm a Cambridge educated architectural designer, currently working towards my architecture accreditation in the UK. So yeah, that's really everything about me.
Thank you so much, Dami. Okay, so we have Daniel and Ayodiji on this call. So I'm sure they already know how the session already goes. We'll be having a general question and answer at the end of our session. So let's just start on a very, very light note before the main session. So I'll be asking you questions and you have to just, tell us what you think about it. So the first question is, if your design style were a place, where would it be?
Place. Good question. When you say, what type of place? Like country, city, like what is anything?
Anything, any place, you can
Yeah,
decide.
good question. I don't know. I'll probably if it was a place, my design style. Probably be like a art gallery or something. Not any specific country, but just an art gallery. Just the idea of like a it's a place that people gather to come to learn about the history and the heritage and where they came from. So that's type of idea of, you know, a place for, where people can go and they have something in common to learn about something. Yeah.
Mm, that's so nice. This is the first time I'm hearing, art gallery. People will usually say maybe Italy or Paris or or somewhere else. Okay, so let's just go to the next question. So why did you choose architecture? Why not medicine? Why not, I don't know, something else? So why architecture?
Yeah, another good question. I'm actually, yeah, in the process of making a video about this, but my architecture. So I was born in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Yoruba, Omo Yoruba than me. So I actually speak Yoruba as well. I moved to Glasgow when I was 7 years old. Me and my family moved to Glasgow, and that's where I grew up. And then around this time, I'm really into football. I'm a big Arsenal fan. Around this time, I would see a lot of footballers and other celebrities I really remember Sadio Mane. It would like sort of give back to his community back in Senegal, back to his roots where he came from. And what I started noticing is that like it wasn't just giving back money; it was giving back in terms of infrastructure. And that's where really I came to a realization that like money can only do something like money like there's a part of the built environment and infrastructure that transcends monetary values. Money can only do so much on its own. You use money to get these like buildings, and architecture is important. It can create culture, it can create legacy because buildings outlive us. It's a place where people gather. It creates good dignity as well, where people live, sleep and spend time. So that was the first time I really like, a realization of like architecture. Architecture does something. So yeah, that was really how I got into architecture. And of course, after that, I did art in school, and my art teacher was really cool. She was one of those like crazy art teachers that in a good way. I don't know if any of you are aware of Basquiat, the famous neo-expressionist artist. And my art teacher was kind of like that. Basquiat was really famous for his method of working. So if you watch videos of Basquiat painting, it would be on the floor, it would be grabbing different doors and inch them together, and the music would be playing in the background, and there would just be paint everywhere, and it just, all of like this. That was what my art teacher was like. She would be using a lot of tracing paper, layers and layers and layers of tracing paper. So it was almost like a performance. He was trying to get all the ideas in our mind out in creative form. And I was seeing this, and I was genuinely so inspired. And yeah, so that was a massive influencer. So it just shows how like people can really influence, what careers you end up going to. So that was a massive influence for me to go into architecture.
Wow, so your teacher really played a big role. At least it's
Yeah,
good to know you were not like running from chemistry like some of us. We didn't want to do chemistry, so what's the next option?
yeah.
Architecture.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so
Yeah.
another question. Can you describe your design style in 3 words?
Yes, for sure. Belonging. Belonging is, yeah, very important. That's basically my manifesto. Space of belonging. And then sensitivity. I love the word sensitivity. So you approach, the site with sensitivity, you look at the history, what was there before, what who the end users are for, and then generosity. I really love generosity. It's so good. Even generosity is one of my best traits in people in itself. I try to be a generous person, but then when you look at generosity in terms of architecture, it takes on a whole different like dimension, different meaning. It can mean like generosity with space. Generosity, you can be generous to people that are going to use the space by consulting them. What do they want? What type of space they want? So yeah, belonging, sensitivity, and generosity. That's yeah, my design style. Yes.
Wow, wow. That's really thoughtful. The fact that you even, considered people sensitivity. Yeah, that's so nice. So to wrap up this session, we have one more question before the main questions. So what's a non-architecture thing that always inspires you?
Yes, non-architectural thing. Yes, good one. I think it's I mean I've basically touched on it again. It's my where I came from, my path to become who I am today. From Nigeria to Glasgow and then, to Cambridge after that, and then to London now. It's a case of like becoming. It's the idea of like never always experimenting to find out more and always trying to it goes back to that sensitivity again where stuff comes from. So it's really where I came from and a sense of belonging. So when I moved to Glasgow trying to assimilate with the culture, and I noticed that black people in Scotland, there weren't really a space for them to gather. The only real space, if you ever go visit Scotland, Glasgow, Scottish people, they like their pubs. And yeah, I'm not really a pub person. That's not for me. So, and I'm even pubs, apart from pubs, there's not really much spaces that you can just go out and, hang out with people. So, from there, I really like to spaces where people can gather, third spaces outside of the home and workplace. So that's really it, where I came from, my roots.
Wow. You're really, really a deep person. Toby is just smiling like, okay, okay, okay. Okay, so we're going to the main session now. I'm sure everybody is asking, how did Dami get into Zaha Hadid? Because Zaha Hadid is like one of the biggest architecture firms. So like, can you just tell us how you got into Zaha Hadid?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I'm a massive fan of ZHA. I mean, I love architecture. I've seen it so as well. I mean, it definitely helps that I studied at Cambridge University, and that I mean, I didn't find this out till even after I applied. So I applied for an internship. The internships are very competitive, and I applied in January time, and then my internship was in September. So I recently finished. And so I applied through the website and, I had a portfolio, my CV. So I sent it off. I didn't get anything for like 2 weeks. But then, I was super like desperate to get into this place. And then I then found out that one of my professors at my college at Cambridge was taught by Zaha Hadid when she went to Yale. When my professor was at Yale. So she had a connection. I mean, Zaha Hadid's not alive anymore, but she had a connection to Zaha Hadid. And what you will notice is a lot of these people that work at ZHA, all of them are connected in one way or the other. Whether the professor was taught by this person or that person, or everyone's connected. Maybe the people crossed over a certain city, university, at a certain workplace. It's all connected. So I got my professor to write a recommendation letter for me. Um, and when I asked her this, I told her, write it and send it to me. And then she was like, no need, I'll send it directly. I didn't even know she had connections. How did she even find the email of the people? So sent her email, and then like a week after that, I got invited for an interview. And yeah, interviews I'm pretty fine. It's just about getting in the door. Once it gets to the interview, I know probably similar to a lot of you guys here. Once it gets to the interview, you can all probably talk for days, and you'll get the job. But it was about getting that interview in the first place. So there was a lot of help from my professor. And then aside from that, um, the portfolio is super important. Of course, you can have the opportunity, but if you don't, if the portfolio and the skills is not good, then you obviously won't, it needs to match up. So I worked a lot on, increasing my skills in designing like the office does, ZHA does. So you need to design fluidity. So that's really it, opportunity, and then making sure I've got the skills to back it up as well.
Yeah, that's really something to learn, opportunity and having the skills to back it up. Okay, so now let's dive in. So like, can you run us down how your first day at the office was like? Like
Yes, yes.
did you wear like a suit, like, or did you iron your clothes the day before? You laid it down and you were just looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to choose like have my outfit prepared the night before. I mean, when I'm going anywhere in general, anyways, because can't be out here running about in the morning, ironing stuff. It's too much stress. So yeah, I did have my stuff ready the night before. But before I actually got the started the first day, I've been to the office a couple of times, like 3, 4 times. So I sort of knew the outfits. I mean, they give us a dress code. It was smart casual. I mean, a lot of you probably know, I don't know, but in sort of in the architecture, compared corporate architecture is a bit different from like finance corporate, if that makes sense, in terms of attire. In finance, they all wear, suit, tie every day. But architecture is more casual, smart. So it's more, you're allowed to express creativity more because we are designers, we're creative. We're not, transferring money all day. So we are able to express your creativity through your clothes. So yeah, we just went with a quarter zip, and even it wasn't shirt and tie. But the first day was amazing. We got a tour of the office, and we got an induction, like a full-on presentation of the practice. Like it was a presentation of like, it was like they were pitching to us. You know how companies, when they go to like bid for projects, they'll pitch, this is who we are, and this is the type of projects we've done. So we literally got that type of like there were 4 interns in my internship cohort. And yeah, one of the directors, sorry, literally presented Zaha Hadid to us. So he was like, this is us, this is our founder. As if we didn't all know the practice already. So it was amazing. And it was genuinely, they played a video. The video was like called A Factory of Ideas. I don't know if you follow the page, you probably have seen it before. And it just shows how, this place is a factory of ideas. Someone is always, we're very curious, experimental. And yeah, it was, the full day was, not even just the full day, the full experience is amazing. Like, I know people tell you never to, don't have your expectations up because sometimes it doesn't match. But this time, this experience was just, it matched. Everything was amazing. It was superb. But yeah, I guess, no, I mean, do you want me to say, the only thing, there's always a balance. It was amazing, but then what people don't know is that, first of all, the internship was not paid. It was not paid. That's one thing to know. I mean, they did pay for expenses, so like lunch and your journey to and from the office. So that's the only thing that just offsets that excitement. But yeah, that's the only thing. But it was amazing. The first day was great.
Wow. That's like so much to experience. Like I'm sure when you first got there, you're like, okay, wow, I'm actually in ZHA. Like I can
Yeah.
imagine. I don't even think I would have slept that night because that would be the only thing on my mind. Okay, so can you run us through how a typical work day is there? Like, do you guys clock in, or Just run us through how your day was or how a typical
Yes,
day was.
yes. So in the contract, the work day is 9 to 6, and that's on the contract. But no one finishes at 6. I'll be honest. Like me, I usually when any job I've ever had, if the time ends, I'm gone. But at this ZHA, you can't be the first person to leave, and no one leaves at 6. Like, but typically what they are wake up. I don't know what time would I. Because my journey to ZHA was about like 35 minutes, so it was pretty close. So wake up around, so I start at 9. I could literally wake up at 8, 30-minute shower, get ready, and then leave at 8:30 to get there at 9. And it's hot desking. It's so you don't have an assigned table. You can literally switch tables every day. There's like in the building, there's 4 floors. There's 2 separate buildings, but the main building is 4 floors. So you can literally work all across the floors. And it's a massive practice. There's so much people. And then you arrive, you are sort of through the side door, there's a security guy. There you go, and the security guy I was there for a while, so you will recognize all the people's faces. You scan the code to check in to your table, because if you don't check in before 10 a.m., someone could just take your table. And I go to my locker, I take out the laptop that we were assigned, and then go connect it to the screens to start working. And I'm trying to think and I usually have like a lot of people actually work from home as well. So before I started, there were people who were overdoing it. So usually the office is 3 times a week. But before I started on September 1st, before September 1st, people were literally just working from home, like without coming to the office at all. So they basically all got in trouble. The director was sending a big email. That was my first email in my inbox. Everyone must be in the office at least 3 times a week. So on the day I started, actually, the full team that I was assigned to was not in the office there. So I was in office and I was having my team meeting online. So everyone else in my team was literally online. So that's what that was. And then at lunchtime, we had the interns went out to get lunch. They showed us like all the different places that we can get food while we're working there. And then that's it really. And it's just worked on the task they were giving me, and then getting to know all the other interns as well. So that was really what a typical day would be like, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, so do you guys do like site visits? You go to site, or it was majorly of office work compared to just site work?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I only went to site once, and I mean, ZHA does a lot of international projects. So they're based in London. So a lot of the projects in China, Saudi Arabia. I worked on a project in Slovenia. So it's all away from London. So site visits is very rare, and you can think of like they always do, like, I mean, I didn't get to go, but they do like yearly site visit. Yeah, when a building gets completed, they all get flown out. So the practice will play for the flight and hotel for like a week to go see the building. But usually not really that much. But there's a lot of when you go on the website, even ZHA, there's a lot of hierarchy. So the directors have been there for 30, 40 years. So like, you're only really gonna go on site visit if you have importance. It's ZHA, I'm not I'm not gonna bring an intern to the thing. But saying that though, it is quite a circular setup. They do try to get input from everyone, but mostly it's the people at the top that will travel out to go see the projects in person.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so for the next question, so we know ZHA is a very global organization, and you have different people from different parts of the world working there. So how was it like working with different designers, from different parts of the world, having their own design mindset? So how was it, in that type of space?
Yeah, no, I think that was probably my favorite thing. My favorite thing to my favorite experience in that place. Everyone there was a genius, and I don't even say that lightly. I mean, every can when I say genius, obviously, I mean like not just like gifted. You can tell they put in the work over decades to get to the work to get to where they are. Like everyone is just amazing. Like these are the best of the best from all over the world, from a lot from people from Mexico, from Iran. There's a lot of it's quite good as well. It's very diverse. There's a lot I think there might even be more women than men at the practice. There's a lot of people from Asia. It was very diverse and it's extremely smart people. And it's a practice that I don't know if either of you are super smart, but like I, I came from Cambridge. I've really been used to, I'm a smart person. And when I was in secondary school, I do all my grades. But ZHA is not a company that you can just roll up and start impressing everyone by your smartness. Like you might do the best model, the best drawing you've ever done in your life, and your line manager you just be like, "Well done, next." Like it's just you can't impress. You can't really impress these people. Everyone's amazing. The work is constant quality. So, yeah, I learned so much. There's just so much talent, and people are always willing to share their knowledge. Because they just know so much. Like it's and they're just technically gifted. They're creative people, and they dress well as well. They all tend to wear black, literally all full black. I don't know what, literally full black. Most of the time. That's what they were. But yeah, the people there, as they are incredibly smart people. So yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine putting so much work in something, and my line manager is like, "Well done, next." I'm like, "Please look at this. This is what I did. No, you have to check it well." But I think for ZHA, what I've learned so far from it is that it's a place of constantly learning. What you think you've done, somebody has like done it better, and you can always,
Yeah.
learn from that person. Okay,
Yeah.
so while in ZHA, did you have like a mentor or someone who supported your growth, who was like, "Oh, Dami, you have to learn this, you have to learn this," while you were there, or you were just on your own trying to figure things out or asking people?
Yeah. I was assigned like I mean, usually they assign you buddies, but not necessarily at the office. There was more like it was my line manager that was like my buddy as well. Like sort of telling me stuff. And naturally, me, I'm quite proactive. So I always like, I try to connect with literally everyone there as much as possible. It's funny because before I got to the practice, I've been trying to connect with a lot of people from there on LinkedIn, and these people were not connecting with me. But like ever since I started, boom, accept. So literally from the first day, I literally sent requests on LinkedIn to everyone. And and this started the conversation when I would see them in person. So I was quite proactive and like make sure I connected with everyone. Because obviously I'm not there for a long time. I had to make sure to build connections. Because I'm gonna try to get back in a couple years when I'm qualified as an architect. But yes, it was quite easy to get plugged into community. They have a lot of socials. You would think because it's quite a tough work environment, they're constantly working, but they do know how to party. They have football socials further side in London. They recently just had a Christmas party as well, and then they have a lot of like lectures actually in terms of like the philosophy of the office, the like history and theory, and how they design, they present some of the projects, and they have ZHA breakfast as well, like once every month, something like that. And then when I was there, there was a end of summer social, so there was so much opportunities to integrate into the community there.
Yeah, I actually really like that they have like a lot of socials because architecture, you hardly even see most of us go out. We're usually just
Yeah.
indoors. So like it's a good thing that they try to engage their staffs and even have someone to train you while you are there. Yeah. So to the next point, so without sharing like protected details, so what can you tell us is the best project you worked on? while you were in ZHA?
Yes, I mean, I worked on, when I say I worked on, these projects are so massive. So in the grand scheme of things, um, where I worked on is minute, you know, in the grand scheme of things. But I worked on, there's a project called Tower C in Shenzhen. Is construction has started. So the office is just there as like a quality assurance. So like when the structural engineers are doing their thing, they'll be going back and forth with the office to like clean up details just to make sure it matches what was proposed. So I was literally just doing a lot of Rhino modeling. They usually use Maya, but they got because they were in construction now, so it's just a case of like modeling some options in Rhino as to what they'll go with. So for the first week, I was modeling like a balustrade, like giving different options, make it like so. There was a balustrade, and in the design there wasn't. So it was in Shenzhen, so it was in China. There's a few regulations as to how the balustrade, you need to have the railing, you need to have double. So if you have like, balustrade is when you're, do you know a railing? When you're going up the stairs, you have the bar. So in China, you need to have double. You need to have like, so you need to have four. So you need to have two, and then a gap. You have two railings. So that was not sort of included in the proposed design. So I essentially had to like model some iterations that could integrate the railing into what was designed already. So I worked on that, and then I moved on to a design competition, which I think was the most beneficial for me to see that this is what I wanted to see, like the design process of the office. It was a project in Slovenia in Europe of a transit center. What was interesting is that the brief was of a bus stop and a car park. That was the proposal, but the the design team took it further than the brief. So instead of just a bus stop and a car park, they on top of the building they decided to put like a green space for people to socialize. So it's sort of like that design process taking the brief further, to the client. It's like almost saying like the client doesn't actually know what they want. Give them extra value for the land. So that was really interesting. So I literally went through all the iterations that they did. It was amazing. Like these people model so fast. Like this the project was done in like 8 days. It was incredible, like so fast, and they're just pure mastery. They're just so good. It was amazing. They use I don't know if any of you know about Miro. Miro boards is like collaborative, so they literally are like a Miro board of that the process, like so much iterations, and then yeah, I was just up and out with the diagrams and illustrations and some renders, but that was really good. There's a like one of the directors, Paulo. He's like he's a visionary. He's quite quixotic, extremely creative. There's some people you can just tell it's years of mastery, like genuinely the way it's almost and these directors don't even know how to use the software necessarily like as good as the more younger people, more innovative people, but they just know how to. It's almost like they're designing with people. So he's like, go test this, go test this, go test this, and then they come back with ideas for him to cling onto, and it's just sort of that design process. It was amazing to just experience that, to be honest.
Wow. Even like you saying all this, I'm like already imagining how
Yeah.
the whole project went. Yeah, that's so nice. Okay, so while you were there, I'm sure you worked on like other projects. So did you ever like make a mistake? And how was their reaction? How did you get over
Yeah.
it?
Mistake. Um, I mean, not, I don't. I mean, I wouldn't really allow myself to get to it. I would usually ask before if I'm unsure of anything. But what is it? I guess it's a case of I made a mistake. That's a good question. I think it's when you look at when in architecture school, you sort of thought about presentation really matters. I can spend hours in Illustrator making sure the line weights are good, everything is visually clean. But what you actually realize when you go to practice and you're applying for, competitions, and you're submitting work for competitions, it's not really about aesthetic anymore. It's about, the design almost speaks more than the layout. So you have boards, design and competition boards, and they don't really care about like aesthetics in terms of like diagrams, for example. They can just screenshot a vinyl view and then just annotate it in paint. Like that's it. But if I was to do that in like uni, they'll be like, no, go into Illustrator, make sure everything's nice. But it took me a while to understand that, what I was doing a diagram and I spent like half a day in doing it in Illustrator, and they were like, no, like just get it done over and quick. So it's almost like let the renders and stuff, and the actual design of the building. Let's spend more time on that than all this minute stuff. Because you've got to think from that's another thing I've realized. Architecture is quite cooperative. It's a business. It's a business model. Like it's more than just let's spend the time on what really matters. Because what happens if they don't win the competition, then that's just wasted time. Let's be effective. So that's what I really realized was I spent too long on a diagram in Illustrator trying to make it look all perfect, and the diagram would literally be small on the screen, so it won't really matter at the end of the day. So you just got to be, think smart about where you're spending time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think also the design process also really matters than, you know, just the renders and
Yeah.
everything. Like they want to see how, your thought process and your creativity is. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that really makes sense. Okay, so what special moment did you have in ZHA that changed how you approach design aside from what you just said now? So was there anything else that happened that
Yes.
just changed your
Yes, I think it was just those moments in between, like when I'm at my table working and I could sort of, look over at what the guys are doing next to me. There was one time I didn't even get to meet Patrick Schumacher during my time there. He was barely in the office. He's always traveling to sites and stuff. But I saw him on a call. I wasn't even on a call. The guy next to me was on a call. It was the head of interior was on a call, and Patrick Schumacher was there with the PIF, the Public Investment Fund, Saudi Arabia. But they were in like a meeting. But Patrick is quite elusive. He's really, I mean, he's the boss. But yeah, I met the CEO as well of the practice of ZHA. Patrick Schumacher is the principal, and then there's a CEO. But I met him, introduced myself. But that's really just getting to meet all these people that have been, stalking on that website for weeks and weeks. That was really, yeah, what was good.
Yeah, I can really imagine that. Okay, so now to the architecture aspect. So can you tell us some of the software you used? Because over here in Nigeria, we use more of Revit. So like over there, what software you were mostly using?
Yeah, ZHA does use Revit. They use Revit towards the end of the process. So the design process is essentially Maya. Maya is what they usually start with, Autodesk Maya, and then they work in between Maya and Rhino. So Maya and then Rhino, and then from Rhino to Revit. So that's really the process. Maybe after Rhino is a bit of Rhino Grasshopper to rationalize the geometry, and then from Rhino to Revit. So Maya, Rhino, Grasshopper, Revit. That's really the process. But as you might know, you're as an architect, you don't need to master all these softwares. As long as you're really good at one of them, then you don't need to learn everything. And then, but the issue is trying to, get a position at ZHA in the first place. You need to design like they design, and to make those structures, to model those type of structures, you need to be good at either Maya or Vinyl Sub D to model fluidity. So that was really it. Yeah, that's it really. I literally learned Maya in December of last year. So literally a year ago, that's what I did out of university, because there was no way my university was going to allow me to to use Maya in my portfolio, in my projects, because my Cambridge is quite conservative and they care about like heritage, retrofitting existing buildings. So they're not really, it might look nice, but they don't really give good grades for that. So I didn't really do that in university. So I had to explore alternative routes. There's a few tutorials. There's like 2 specific tutorials on YouTube regarding Autodesk Maya. And then I done 2 courses in Maya as well. That you can find. I'm sure if you search on Maya architecture course, it's literally one of the most like difficult softwares I've ever learned. Like genuinely, it's I mean, every architecture student knows that stage of when you're trying to learn a software and it just headache. I went through that. It was incredibly difficult, but it really paid off in the end.
Yeah, I think everybody here can relate to learning a new software. But yeah, Maya, I've also heard about that, but over here we don't use it so much. But I think it's something, if you want to work in a bigger firm, it's
Yeah.
something you have to just learn. Okay, so can you tell us one mindset or habit you picked up as ZHA that you still use every day, even after you've left?
Yes, I think the mind the I mean not quite mindset, but the skill is vocabulary. Design vocabulary is what I really picked up. Is that it? Why I really love it is they're really design focused. I don't know. We all know the statement. Form follows function. And when I was there, they had an exhibition called. So let me actually get this article. It's in my room. Is they do this like leaflet for every exhibition they do. So this was my time. It says function through form. So that's what it says. So you get function through form. So the actual statement from the modernist architect is form follows function, but they say function through form. And I found that really intriguing. It's like, when they're designing, when usually not, all the architecture practice design, they're all like, oh, what's the function? How many rooms? How wide is this space to be? It's too rigid. There's lots of austerity, but it's almost refreshing at times when you can just say, I like how it looks. I like how the space feels. I like the I like the vibe. I like the sometimes when you say that in university or like some places, it's like, no, why are you doing it? But it's very refreshing to be at the practice. It's just like it's very design focused. How does it affect people's emotions? When you look at it, when you feel it. So that's really good, and they're all really good with words. And when they're describing architecture, they use the word generosity a lot to describe architecture. They use the word geometry as well. Geometry, space, what was it? Parametric. They're just very good with vocabulary when it comes to describing architecture. They're very eloquent when they're describing ideas. So I think I really took that even when it comes to, you know, describing architecture. When I make videos as well, I've been really applying that skill of vocabulary to just every area of my life. And I think it's really good.
Yeah, that's something new because honestly, I would have thought maybe it was their design process, but like vocabulary is also something we should also learn. Yeah, okay, so during your time there, can you explain how your understanding of architecture changed? I know you've like explained it in different parts, but like can you just give us a general summary?
Yes. Yes. No. Yeah. I think my understanding of architecture has changed in terms of like a more business perspective. Architecture is a business at the end of the day, and as much as I enjoyed it, the time I was there was no there was no work-life balance. Like that's all. I was waking up thinking about ZHA. I was sleeping thinking about ZHA. And a lot of people you think you meet there, it's a lot of sacrifices when it comes to, you know, other areas of their life in terms of like family, either with, I mean, they're usually with partners that like understand their ZHA and they won't have as much time. But yeah, it's a massive realization because, you know, before I started there, I was really romanticizing the architecture world and working in architecture. And, you know, I wasn't really thinking about how would I balance this with other areas of my life. And I didn't have time to like, you know, make videos that I made. So it's a case of like, I really enjoyed it, but it just gave me perspective as to, you know, um, if this is something you really want, then you have to really dedicate, you know, everything you do towards it. So that's what I really see architecture, and now it's the idea of like how all these people at the office are just working, you know, for the legacy of ZHA, and it's not they're sort of sacrificing their own endeavors, their own thing to sort of come together as a team to do this one thing. And I guess it's you need to make sure, you know, there's no you don't have your own ambitions, because if you do, there's a few people that have, and then they just left to start their own thing, and then, you know, I don't know, it's a case of uh, um it's a business. I don't know if I've sort of learned, because I do have ambition of starting my own thing in the future. I've sort of learned how they manage to keep all these people together to sort of work towards one goal. You know, even when it comes to stuff like presentations, they have templates. You can't be out here redesigning how the InDesign presentation looks for everything. Everyone has the same font size, same layout. It's the idea of like, you know, you have to let go of everything else you think and just work for the good of the, you know, company and stuff like that. That's just sort of see architecture from that point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, architecture is just, different people have their different perspective. And so wait, I have one question to
Yeah, of
ask,
course.
outside the question I already prepared. So do you think that if you keep working in ZHA, do you think it would be very easy for you to leave and start up your own thing, or you would, just be like, oh, let me just continue. This is a big firm after all. Why do I need to leave and then start my thing?
Oh yeah, good question. Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. I think it will be very good to work there anyways early in your career. But yeah, I guess people literally have been there for years, so it's very easy to just carry on and carry on. Like at the end of the day, you're working on exciting projects. Like you're going to be constantly excited. And you know, a few people have left and been really successful. I don't even know Mad Architects, MAD Architects. He was at Zaha Hadid Architects, and then there's even Mariana Kupabegia. It's like MC Studios. She was at ZHA as well. There's a few people that have started off, and then there's Tim Fu Architects as well. He really specialized in AI. There's been a few people that have left and been successful. But then there's been a few others that have not, you know, they've been trying to start their own thing and it's not really, you know, taken off. But, you know, definitely working there can give you the launch pad. Then you've got a solid CV. You've worked on these international projects, so you know how things work. But then easily, like you said, it's very easy to just stay there and, you know, work for the goal of someone else, for the company. So yeah, it's a balance. It depends if you've got the drive, I guess, to really, you know, go out on your own and, you know, let go from, you know, the institution, I guess.
Mm. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so I know other people will have their questions. So we have one more session to go, and then anybody that has questions, you can just wait for the general question and answer, and then you can ask it. So for the last session, it's more of advice for young designers. So for students listening today, for people that are just starting up, what's one thing you wished someone told you before starting in ZHA?
Yes, good question. Tell me if I start that search. Oh, you know, this question is interesting because I literally consulted with like literally everyone I know before I started. So I got all the advice I got. But I wish I mean the first week before I started there, I like I said, I literally I knew everyone there from the website, all the directors and stuff. When I look at the photos, it was quite. The photos are almost scary. They look like like very serious people with the black background, with their straight face. They look like they're unapproachable. I guess I wish someone just told me like they're just human at the end of the day. Like it's just no like everyone's a human. Everyone's a normal person. It doesn't matter if you're Patrick Schumacher, even if it was Zaha Hadid herself. She's just another person. Same thoughts, same. Everyone has their own anxiety. Everyone's constantly reaching for something, and everyone's a person at the end of the day. So everyone's approachable, and yeah, just that's why I wish someone told me that, like, everyone's don't think everyone's some people are just like egotistical, just maybe they are, but like you don't know that yet. Let them show that to you first before you start, be judging, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was about to say judging. Yeah, everybody's still human, and everybody actually started from somewhere. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can young designers prepare themselves for ZHA and the global practice in general? So
Yeah.
imagine I'm from Nigeria and I hopefully one day I want to work in ZHA. So like, how do I start?
Yes, no, that's a good question. There's a couple. I mean, number one, vinyl. I think vinyl is quite universal. Although, yeah, vinyl. Try master vinyl. I mean, if you really master vinyl, you don't even need to know Maya, or I mean, Revit always do that because you need BIM. But if you can master vinyl, grasshopper, then you'll be in a very good position. But if you learn vinyl, then you have a great portfolio naturally because you can model more complex geometry. But vinyl, it doesn't matter anywhere you're going. It's very transformable. It doesn't even my practice vinyl, they use a lot of Revit and they use SketchUp. I dislike SketchUp. At least I don't even touch it. At least you just told them install vinyl for me. That's what I'm gonna use. So literally, like if you don't vinyl, because you can obviously like export models in between all these like modern softwares. So that's the thing, yeah, learn Rhino. And then secondly, utilize LinkedIn and social media platforms. LinkedIn, literally like connect with all these people. Like go on to these companies and look at the people that work there. And sort of try craft a relationship. Be like, can I get portfolio advice? That's always the way in there. So don't just be like, I need a job. Just try to get them to give you advice, and then try to get someone that you can go back and forth with, someone to help build up your portfolio, if that makes sense. And then three, I think social media is very important in terms of like content creation. I think that's super important. I think to get your work out there, not just like as you are learning right now and creating your portfolio, also start creating architecture content, start giving architecture advice, start talking about, what it's like to work in architecture practice. And yeah, that will create, some opportunities. That is done for me. Some people like when I from posting content, some recruiter from Gensler reached out to about like a scholarship I could apply to, because she saw one of my videos. So I think, yeah, because you need to get your name out there. You need, yeah, make architecture content, or just day in the life content, advice for architecture, what it's like to be a student. And yeah, that's really it. That's what I would say. Vinyl, connect to people on LinkedIn, and architecture content on social media.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense because everybody wants to be an architect, but nobody really knows what you are doing or like where you are. Like I was listening to something the other day and they said it's not the most it's not the best rather that gets the job, it's the person that is the most
Yes.
available.
Yes.
So you might be very good at something and nobody's actually saying you, and you end up not even getting the opportunity. So yeah, social media is something that everybody should really work on. Okay, so what would you say for someone from a small city who has dreams of working on the world stage? Like, what's your advice for architects that are just starting?
Yeah, no, that's a That's a good one. You know, I watched a video, very, like a podcast, Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you guys are aware, but he was doing an interview with someone that is like an econ person. He was like, move to one of the global cities. You need to, if you live in a small place, you need to move to where is going on, to work. For example, I'm based in Glasgow, and I literally during university I was like, yeah, I need to save up to make sure that I'm in London after university. Like I need to make sure, even moving from Glasgow to Cambridge, like, I was sort of moving south, south, south to make sure I ended up in London. So I don't know if someone's not even based in like Lagos, or if you're based in Port Harcourt, for example, like you need to move to Lagos, for example, like move to the main, main like states, main cities in wherever you're based, because that's where everything is going on. Because if you are, for example, if you are like, if I was top 1% in Glasgow, that's that's the same as like being average in London, if that makes sense. You can be average, you can be top in a small place. Being average in a big place is just as good as being top in a small place, if that makes sense. But try your best to sort of move to a global a city, a large city where there'll be opportunities that you can connect to more people, if that makes sense. That is it's not quite straightforward, but if you can sort of plan, if you can plan out your 5 to 10 years steps to a major city, it's super, like that would be super beneficial. Like, because I remember the last literally all the way through university, like the goal was to move to London. Like that was literally the goal. So if you can just plan what you're doing to a major city, then I think opportunities will come. And if you're doing what we just mentioned with social media and stuff like that, it'll be very good. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it, because even in architecture, most of the major buildings,
Yeah.
most of the best buildings, you usually see them in like the main cities. So yeah, that's really something anyone here should really look into. Okay, so the floor is open. If you have questions for Dami, you can just raise up your hand and then we will just call you to speak. Okay, I think Toby has the first.
Wait, can I pop in a question?
Yeah.
Hi, Dami.
Yeah.
I've been jotting. I'm in a major city. I think I have to. I'm next to Toronto, but
Yeah.
after what you said, I literally have to move to a major city. Sometimes you get so carried away. Oh, Toronto is just right next to me here. I feel like I personally also have to like explore. See what's happening and everything. Thank you very much for all that you shared. Um, I wanted to ask, I'm curious about the design style. You mentioned something that was very remarkable, function through form. And I'm very curious on the philosophy of the company because, you probably don't think in straight lines, bulk of the time you're thinking curve. Were you part of any projects that they had to like conceptualize the ideas for a project? You didn't just say, okay, let's just draw a random curve. What were the process that informed this curve? How fluid it was? I'm just curious on like a design process
Yeah.
during.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a very good question. That's literally exactly what I was thinking going into the experience. Because you see a lot of these fluid buildings, you just think it's like random curves. But like I mentioned in that sort of mural board that they had where they were collaborating with stuff. So every single project there is literally like an exercise. So they get the site in Maya, you have the site slot, and they should just be massing. They play with massing. So every single project they always do blocks. They just stack blocks across the site. They'll use like rectangles, they'll use triangles, literally like everything. They literally go through all these different forms, and then whatever sort of the director thinks is making more sense, and they'll sort of move next to next stage. It's almost like a elimination stage. Like they just keep moving on. So they go through a lot of iterations. It's even if you go to the office, the models are everywhere. A lot of like iteration models, like 3D printed. It's yeah, it's very, I guess a lot of it comes with mastery with software. Again, it's they can just iterate so fast. So it's definitely is genuinely not like random curves, because they do work with constraints as well, you know, because if the bus station, there were a lot of stuff with like, because when you're parking buses, you need to think about the turning radius and stuff like that. So that was, you know, they mapped out the constraints of the site. So they sort of like knew the edge needs to be here, this needs to be here. And then the building has like a staircase to access the roof, the ceiling of the green space. So they knew they wanted like a slanted front and then like a flat sort of thing. Then they sort of had the outline of what the form should be for it to work. And then they just started playing what it was, like a cube language, where it was circles. Again, it's just it doesn't come. I feel like as designers, we just think like there should be like a eureka moment when it's like a light bulb. Oh, this is what the world should look like. But even with ZHA, there were frustrating moments. Like they were frustrated that we ended a meeting at some point. We're like, oh my, like they thought we were finished, because obviously it's 8 days, the deadline is here. They just thought like, yeah, we're just gonna ruin the reputation of the practice. Like Jenny, this is what they were thinking. So it's like these people are really good, but like there's no creative out there. It's like they just know, no one knows exactly like this is what it's gonna look at the end. They're unsure. I'm sure like so that's what I thought before, like, oh, they're just so good. They have a design straight away. It's like they don't know where they're going. They just explore. Like, I think all of us really, we have we all know this design process. It's just the frustration is part of the design process. I've come to learn as well. They really get frustrated a lot. And even in some of the days, like we had some design reviews, people were out here just like arguing. I know, like this, we don't like this. What's that? It doesn't look good. So they get really frustrated, and yeah, it's just really embracing that, to be honest, and iterations as well.
Thank you so much, Dami. Toby, does that answer your question?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have another Oluwatobi raising up his hand. You can speak, sir.
Hi. Thank you very much. Thank you for that eye-opening conversation, Dami. And my questions were very closely in line with the question that Toby just asked. So I would try to push that thought a bit. So from the descriptions you have given, there is a lot of thinking in software. So two questions then. How much of hand drafting do you guys do in the creative conceptualization? And then you were explaining some things concerning functionality and things like that. So my system is I'm trying to get that question. Yeah, so when you think of form and functionality and freedom, fluidity, how do you incorporate functionality into those very interesting designs? Because so if you start with the massing and you establish the facade first, how do you now start working in the functional spaces and the flow into those kind of buildings? And then do you from your study of their existing designs, do you end up with like dead spaces due to those interesting shapes? Yeah, so that's like 5 questions. But yeah, thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Really good questions. Yes. I like the question about the software. Do they use Undraft? I think this is we had a like one of the design reviews again in terms of like when they were teaching about the history of the development of like the language of the practice, it was brought up. I think it's very interesting. It was very because in a lot of architecture schools now, they start off with everyone has to do, hand drafting, manual drawing. And the guy was saying that like it's a tool. Like when all these pens and writing was invented, it's a tool, it's a way of thinking, it's how we think. 3D software is similar to that, you know. It's like see the way you think of writing as you can get your thoughts out into paper. If you get to a level of mastery in 3D software, it's the same thing. It's very weird for us to think, right? Because a lot of people will say like, oh, your hands are connected to the paper and this and that. But when you get to a level of mastery, because like when you're sketching, there's some 3D stuff you can't conceptualize. You can't. That's why people start to do manual 3D like massing. Because like there's only so much your sketching can do, if that makes sense. It's almost controversial this is. It's like, literally a lot of the design process, they literally start in Maya. Like the competition anyway started in Maya. They didn't even do like sketching because the mastery of Maya was at that level. Because like there was no way they were gonna conceptualize all the 3D planes and angles in sketching. Just there was no way. I don't know if you know the Azerbaijan, the building in Azerbaijan, the Ida Aliyev Center. Like you can't when you can't really like when you're thinking about all these different planes, it's difficult to conceptualize. I mean, you can just draw the outline of what you're looking for. But like, I think they really appreciate mastery in software. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to really exaggerate about like how amazing these people are good at modeling. Like, it's incredible. And so sorry, just to go on a tangent again. When you look at like AI, for example, when a lot of people when you see AI, a lot of the like prompts people use is like make this building look like a ZHA building. There's almost like a AI is bridging a gap between 3D modeling. People don't be like, oh, help me create like an image of this traditional building. It's because people can model that already, but there's like a knowledge gap between modeling fluidity. I don't know how to quite explain it. It's like, people are like, help me create like a ZHA building because they can't model that by themselves. It's quite difficult. But like, anyways, that's a whole different topic. But like, just to answer your thinking of software, they literally do think in software. Like they see that on the same level as sketching and and drafting. Yeah, that's just to see. And then in terms of like dead spaces in buildings, that's a good question. One of the directors actually addressed this. Like, of course, you're right. If you're designing fluid buildings compared to like 90-degree buildings, fluid buildings are going to be obviously less effective when it comes to space. But with ZHA, they don't think that every building in the world should be a ZHA building. Like that is no, they don't want all the building in the street to be designed in fluidity. They design icons in cities and communities, that can transcend the community and the country. So it's a case of like they might be less effective in space, but they do much more when it comes to the outlook of an entire country, when it comes to bringing revenue to a place. They design icons. It's a different like dimension of architecture in a way. You sort of be more effective in terms of like the outlook. But yes, and in terms of like function. So when it comes to the design process, they don't just do. I know that I said they do a lot of like the facade. They don't just do. They do the facade, but they also work simultaneously with someone that like working at the plan. So they do work in plan and 3D at the same time. So let's say if Toby is working on the 3D in Maya, I'll be working in Rhino on the ground floor. So we have like the site plan, and I'm working on where this room should be, this room should be. So we're constantly like, I'm constantly like sending Toby the plan of like, make sure your massing is in line with this. Like, don't just do anything. Make sure you're staying within this constraint. So they're constantly working on that at the same time, if that makes sense. And then, yeah, can't quite. I don't know if that covers all your question. Is there anyone I missed out? Sorry.
No, you have done very well. Very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really good question. Those are questions I had as well when it comes to, yeah.
Yeah, but like I
Yeah.
said, so
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Toby, for your question. Okay, so does anybody have any question before we wrap up?
I have one last question that you kind of answered, but I want you to touch on it. I would like to ask you about building codes and how those buildings align with municipal building codes. But then you mentioned a very, very big solution to that. You say you mentioned that most of their designs are you design icons for cities. There's a goal that they're designing like really different unique buildings to a particular region. Like bringing revenue to a place. Can you mention like major regions around the world where Zaha Hadid projects have taking place, and how, what's the procedure like in terms of getting permit for a new design, if at all there is a region, or is it the government? For example, you mentioned that there was a meeting, and it's a bit confidential with Saudi Arabia, yeah. And is there like a project going on? Was there like any project you were working on that you're able to touch on? Sure, thanks.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. There's they're constantly on about. They do a lot of competitions. I mean, they have literally a team dedicated to bids and competition work. So there's people that are constantly looking for work. And obviously, because of the prestigious status of ZHA, people are constantly coming to ZHA for. They're like, I want a ZHA building. That's actually what we come to them for. And then, yeah, that's just really like literally everything you mentioned, like governments. Yeah, that meeting was with the Saudi Arabia government, and it can be like private clients in terms of like residential towers. They work a lot in, Saudi Arabia, like I said, and a few buildings in Europe as well, Austria, in Miami as well. It's just very similar to all these like major, Fosters. Very similar to those type of places. Just where about anything is really. That's where they work. And yeah, and then when it comes to these projects, obviously because it's international, they usually They have consultants when it comes to the people. They have consultants from the place they are designing. So obviously they need people that understand the local codes of like nuances that, us in like a different country might not particularly, because obviously when you go to different countries, regulations are different a little bit. So they always consult with people that actually, work there and are professionals in that place. But yeah.
One last question. Thank you. How's the cloud modeling like? Is it possible to like you and I work on the same Maya file simultaneously? How's Revit allows you to work collaboratively? That's the word.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, that's a good question. They actually they have a lot of developers at ZHA actually. The ZHA codes. ZH code is what they call it. They're constantly researching how to do this. Even in Rhino as well, they're trying to develop that. But in terms, they do have they don't really do that in Maya. I know in Maya, and they don't really do that in Maya because obviously, like you mentioned in BIM, you can like you can have like control, you can relinquish control and stuff like that, and have your own like local file. But in Maya, it's just literally once someone works with it, they will send the file. Someone can work on it at the same they usually work in the same file. So someone work on it. They usually have someone that's two people that's like dedicated to it, and then someone like closes the file, and then someone carries on the work. It's literally amazing. So it's like it's not even one person that can model. It's like just model as much as you can, and then the next person will take it on from there. It's quite, I don't know, because obviously, and it's like fluid buildings. If it was like straight buildings, it's very simple because if you're doing a wall and then you finish your own modeling, I can just come in and then model the other side of the wall. But I can imagine if it's fluidity, if you're modeling like a fluid building, how can I then come in and then continuing that it's quite difficult. So what they usually do is like split, I don't know, they sort of split, they have like sections and they sort of draw a line. Like make sure your curves plateaus like is flat at this particular line. So and then the person that carry on can then carry on that flatness. It's quite it's kind of complicated process, but that's what they usually do in Maya. It's very different. And then not a lot of architecture practices. Architecture practices do not use Maya. It's literally just the ones that do fluidity. So Zaha Hadid, Mad Architects, UN Studios, and then even Foster's don't even really use it like that. Edwick Studio uses it, but that's really it. So Maya is only really for those practices. It's a risk because like if you dedicate all your time to it, it will only really be for those like select like 5 practices. Everyone else really, like you mentioned, very vinyl is really it. But there's not really any real collaborative like things like similar to BIM yet.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Toby. Or do you have one more? Are we good to go? Okay, so does anybody else have any question? Okay, I don't think so. Okay, so we'll just be doing a game session again. Okay, so Okoya Johnson dropped a question. Okoya, can you ask your question? You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Maybe he's in a place. Let me read that.
Okay. Thank you.
I read it. It says, seeing that you did exchange program in Japan, how do you compare architecture in the US to Japan?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
let's also clarify, you're not in the US, you're in Europe.
Yeah, I'm in UK. I'm in London. Yeah. Yes. Now that's a good question. Yes, I did that exchange program to Nagoya University in Japan. Yeah, Japan is a different level of when it comes work-life balance is crazy. There's no balance. Like it's very, yeah, it's quite, and all these, there's a few famous Japanese architects, Kengo Kuma and Minsuk Chao, those people like that. Like most of the times they're not really nice people. And Minsuk Chao is quite nice, but they're not like the way they literally critique these like students really harshly. They reprimand them like really stern. Like I don't know. It's not really the Japanese architecture is amazing, but like even in I sat in a few of the crits, there was really like it was very harsh. Like the people would model and they'll be like spinning the model about like this. I don't know. It's quite a different thing, and that's not even just architecture. If you go into finance as well, it's quite a difficult, work environment. But I don't know. Japan has a lot of positive PR. Like you're on social media, they're like, "Oh, Japan is amazing." Well, yeah, it is amazing. Like when it comes to the infrastructure, but actually, like the work environment is not the best. But it is, I definitely recommend everyone can go to Japan. Like the architecture is amazing. Like, but the process of like getting to the architecture, I think is not necessarily as you know, good. I think in architecture, a lot of us, like including me, we romanticize like, lack of balance, like lack of like proper um how things should be. Like, I think it's just because we only tolerate that because of good design. I think we need to, and I guess it starts from us as well, because we all, we have some architects here. We all will become architects and maybe start our own practices and start like teaching people. I think we need to be more generous and to the process of architecture. We shouldn't be working like crazy hours when it comes to design. We need to find a balance, is what I'm saying. But architecture in Japan is full on. Like, I mean, it works out, they produce amazing work, but I don't think that the process is necessarily the best. But it is amazing. It's an amazing place. They have a lot of like earthquakes, so they've developed a lot of research when it comes to like, making sure earthquake mitigation, and they build with a lot of wood. So they have literally a lot of like architecture built with timber that's been standing for years and years. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, I wasn't able to answer your question. Okay. Well, wait for his response. Okay, so we would also like to know everyone on this call just to get to meet, because we are saying, okay, Okoya said yes. Thank you, Dami. Okay, so we'd just like to know everyone on this call, because I'm seeing new faces here. So before we do that, Dami, we're having a game session just to lighten the mood. Everybody has been saying architecture, but that's why we are here at Let's Talk Design. We want to be able to have free conversations about architecture, because everybody has this criticism look of architecture, like Dami just said. So Dami will be asking you 4 questions. You have to answer very, very fast. Like, the first thing, you must not stammer, you must not say you must not hesitate. So the first thing that comes to your mind when we ask you this question, you just say it.
Yeah,
Are
of
you
course.
ready?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell us a building that changed how you think about design?
Oculus
You said
transportation hub.
you said you're not
Well,
going to say Okay, don't worry. Let them ask you again. Say it again. A
What was
building that
it?
changed how. What do you say? Okay. A building that changed how you think about design.
Oculus transportation hub in New York, Santiago Calatrava. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's right down now. Okay. So a quote you live by as a creative.
Every art movement is a rebellion against the previous one. That makes
No,
sense.
I have
That's
to
from art
write it.
teacher. Yeah.
Wow. Every art movement is a rebellion against the next one.
Yeah. That actually
Wow.
came from when we learned about Basquiat. It's because before Basquiat, no one was really working like how he did. It was a lot of like, realistic paintings. But then he came along, he was like, no, I want to just, yeah, but
Wow. Okay, so one thing you wish every young designer would unlearn.
lack of balance. You're more than architecture. Architecture is not your life, it's a career. It's just one, we're all multifaceted, in my opinion. Like, do something else, play sports, play music. And yeah, I strongly believe in this. Like, we're more than architecture, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the last question. A message to an emerging designer trying to find their creativity.
Oh,
Yeah, he's getting.
so not creativity. You need to do more projects.
Okay.
I mean, I just said that your life is not architecture. Now I'm saying you need to do more projects. But yeah, no, yeah, try. You need to do more. Don't focus on like being perfect. Don't focus on making a perfect project. Just focus on getting out there, and you
Mhm.
can perfect it later. Just focus on just getting work out.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So thank you so much, Dami. So we'll be rounding up our session now. And when we um even when I sent a message to Dami, I was surprised. He was like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm good to go. Let's do this." Like it's just what he said about, when like everybody, we are human beings, and like you can just start something. Imagine if we were scared to just hit up Dami, and Dami is just a very, very, very good creative. And you can also follow him on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Yes. So that means you can drop your handles in the chat session so we can give you more followers from here, also Let's Talk Design. So like I mentioned earlier, we have new faces here. So I'll be handing over to Toby to just, coordinate this session.
Thank you very much, Jamie. It's been a really, really insightful. Thank you so much, Dami. Thank you so much for taking our time to share some of your experience. Oh, I look forward to reaching out when eventually you join ZHA or any firm in the future. Definitely reach out so we catch up on your amazing experience. Good one to you. You're making videos. I took time to go through your Instagram. Thank you. You're really inspiring. I see how you just visit a day. I think that's something interesting that you do outside architecture. You use your interest for architecture to create content, which is beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
I see some very familiar faces here on the call. Alamu Ademola, Adelia Tisola. If you could just unmute, share your video if you can, and just say a bit about yourself and where you're calling from, potentially, or anything, any information or anything that you picked or that really stayed with you in today's conversation. So I'll just call Alamu Ademola based on what's on my I was ordered here. Alamu Ademola. It's been a while. I had to my Yoruba.
Hello, Satsi. I greet you, my bro. Dami, well done. Awesome, awesome conversation. So my name is Alamu Ademola. I am also an architect, practicing at the moment. A couple of other interests I have outside of architecture and kind of things that kind of shape the way I think and how I relate with people is also fitness and business. So all in all, there is a way you just eventually figure out things over time. And one thing that stood out for me during when you were talking was what you said about Basquiat, that particular quote that was towards the end was very powerful. Never heard it before, but definitely a true way to express yourself would have to rebel against what you already know, what is already existing. And that's literally how people trailblaze. That's how you form a new path, and that's how you create new narratives. It's just really how things work in the long run. In the grand scheme of things, you just somebody needs to come and just shake things up real bad. And Zaha Hadid has already done that. So let's see. Maybe the next person I'll be shaking things up might be on this call too. Who knows?
Yeah.
So well done. That's just me. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Demola and I attended Bells University together. As the architect. Thank you so much for sharing your time. Do you still make shoes?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you said fitness because Dami also does like outfit, fashion, love good, apparel.
Yeah.
So
right now, I didn't want to talk for too long. That's why I just had to just round everything up. But yes, I'm a product design. I do product design now.
Yeah.
And part of what has influenced product design is my desire for new forms and expressions through um, African stories. So there's something I'm doing with Legal that pertains to that. So I'm picking forms and shapes and relics from Africa to design my shoes and quite a number of other things that it's no longer just shoes. It's a full clothing line now. So there's all I have that's being worked out right now. And it's been
Amazing.
interesting it's been interesting and challenging, to be very honest,
Nice.
because people are already used to what they're used to, and if you're bringing something new, you would hit roadblocks, you would hit dead ends. But I've been breaking these walls, man, and I'll continue to break them.
I love that spirit, brother. I think we'll be happy to feature whenever you're happy to share the process and designs. We're happy to have
No problem.
So,
We'll be glad to do that. No problem. No problem.
Great.
No problem.
all right, let me call on Ayodeji Adeshola. Ayodeji Adeshola. Yes. Ah, Toby. Oh, this West has such tremendous impact on your talk. See, Dami now. That means English is so polished. If you have to, you can speak Yoruba now.
Yeah, me also Yoruba. Yeah.
You did good, man. Adeshola Ayodeji, do you have a minute to just introduce yourself? I know we have people we've met before and now, or if you don't mind, I can skip so we can run up. Okay,
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Sure.
So my name is Ayodeji, and I am not actually an architect. I am a software engineer, but I find architectural concepts quite interesting because Remy right here she's my very good friend. So I like joining and listening on these talks. And today's one has been very insightful. I liked I particularly liked what Dami said when he referred to changing your environment and how that could give you, a new, basically a new perspective to things, especially when he talked about wanting to move to London and that being one of his goals. So it's something that has really been, it's something that was an eye opener for me because it's true. Sometimes changing your environment does open you up to more opportunities and show you things that you couldn't see in your comfort zone. So yeah, that's my bit.
Thank you so much, Ayodeji. Amazing. Thank you for your consistency, joining the conversations. We appreciate your time. Okoya Johnson, I'm not sure if you're in place, but let me call Olawale Surakat. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit on what you learned. I'll start with you. Olawale, over to you.
Yeah, okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. My name is Alawale Surakat, and I'm an architectural student. Okay, so the thing that really stood out for me from Dami's essay presentation was how he said we have to focus more on balancing out social life and architectural life, because I really think it's very important. Like, most people get lost focusing on just architecture, and at the end of the day you have no life. Like, it's just architecture. I find myself there in that space, like, a lot of time, like 2 weeks straight you're just doing architecture. You don't even have time to think about yourself. It's that bad. So I think focusing on balancing your work life then social life, because I mean you're still a student now, and at the look of things it doesn't seem to get better when you're practicing or when you start to work. And as Toby also said, I've actually been following Dami for, let's say, a year now on IG. So I just wanted to say I
Wow,
love
thank
what you
you.
do. Yeah,
I
I
see
follow what you
that
do.
means
And
that word.
so because content creating is also what I'm looking to get into. So I've started with carousel designs. I post carousel designs about architecture, the experience, the and student experience basically. So hoping to start sharing videos. Sha. Well, I love what you do, Dami, and thank you for sharing tonight. Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. I appreciate that.
Dami the star boy.
No, even. Yeah, no, I like what you said about the work-life balance. Like it doesn't get better. Like if it's like this, like now, you can't leave it to when you get older and then you be like the balance will come later. It's not. You need to. Yeah, I've learned that too. Like the balance is important. Like that's very good.
Nice. Nice. Thank you. Oluwatobi Ajayi, my namesake. Over to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone again. To my namesake also. Obviously, my name is Toby. I am practicing as an architect in Lagos, Nigeria. I am also a writer. At some point in my life, this last 5 years, I took a 2-year break from architecture to actually write because that's what I actually love to do back in architecture. Fortunately, or but yeah, this conversation was very interesting to me because while I was in school studying architecture, I saw Zaha Hadid and her designs as one of those interesting things that don't really fly in Nigeria. And because of the of most Nigerian clients to execute those designs, like financially, I really did not pay attention to those designs. So I was paying more attention to the Louis Kahns and the rest. But recently, I've come to embrace that global design principle, and it's been quite an interesting conversation. What I learned, interestingly, is the fact that there is a higher deliverable when it comes to architecture in the modern times. There is form, there is function, and then like Dami said, there is iconic. And when you are going for iconic, then you need to transcend form and function and start looking at things unheard of, right? And I think as we begin to move towards the AI revolution and things like that, we will probably be moving away from the modernist architecture that we practice around the world, and will most likely be looking towards the designs of Hadid as the general practice. So it's an interesting time in the future, and thank you so much, Dami, and thank you so much for
Thank you, Toby. Do you have any comments, Dami?
No, that's perfect. I like what you said about the AI. Yeah, AI is gonna shake up the world for sure. And even before we had a call with Toby and Bemi a couple of weeks ago about like the future of like even Nigerian architecture and more with the architecture language look like. And then Toby touched on like maybe materiality is a major major part in the future of architecture. But yeah, whoever finds out the next way of doing things in architecture, like it's someone that person's gonna do well. So no, that's a very interesting point you touched on for sure.
I mean, do you have plans to find out?
Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure. Look, I'm gonna it's all part of the process. Gonna keep working to see if we'll see.
That's good. That's good. All right, praise Madwabuchi. Can you just introduce yourself and tell us a bit? Lastly, I think that's the final question today. Praise, are you there? Can you? Okay. All right. We can. We'll take Okoye after at the end. Praise, over to you.
Hello, guys. Good evening. Praise Madwabuchi, and I'm an architect, practicing architect here in Abuja. I really enjoy conversations like this because I think in this part of the world, I mean Africa as a whole, one of the things that we need, particularly this generation of architects coming up now, is exposure. And while he was talking, I mean, I found it really fascinating, getting to hear, the ideologies that he has, the way he thinks, and it's based off the fact that he has been in and around, design being done in a world-class way. And I think for this generation of architects in Africa, exposure is everything. So personally, I'm building a community. I mean, I've spoken with Dami quite a number of times. We're in contact with each other. So I'm building a community, the Architects Hub, and I mean the idea is collaboration, because collaboration is the future, and just to get us to think, differently and approach things differently. And I think to catch up with the rest of the world, because to be honest, yeah, over here we're a bit slow and we need to move because time is moving, and the rest of the world is moving and we're behind. So yeah, thumbs up guys for organizing this really amazing conversation. And Dami, thank you, keep doing what you're doing. I think I started following you a few months back. Yeah, and so when I saw the poster, I texted him and I'm like, this is who you're right. Like I could guess from everything that was written, I could guess that you, because I started following you sometime in September. Amazing content. Immediately I saw that you schooled at Cambridge. I was like, yeah, I'm following this guy. Then I checked your page and I saw the videos you put up. Really amazing stuff. Keep at it, and let us see how we can make things better here in Nigeria, here in Africa, and let's advance the profession. I mean, ultimately, let us, if anything, let's measure up to what the rest of the world is doing, because I know we have amazing brains down here. We have, guys that think, but there's really no access. We don't know what is possible. That's the word. We don't know what is possible. And so we need people who kind of are exposed, who know what can work and what is possible to help us, over here. So thank you very much, guys. Really enjoyed this, and I'll be tuning in next time.
Wow. Amazing.
No, that's very good. I liked what you said about, the talent is definitely there. Like I said, I was born in Lagos, and I went to primary school in Lagos, and I would say I'm quite smart, but the people in my class were way smarter than me. I was average at best in my class in Nigeria, and it's not even like I'm at Cambridge now. It's just about opportunity and exposure. You're definitely right. I think it's about what you're seeing, what you're exposed to, and what people are doing that you can think big. I think that is definitely true. And I think even through stuff like this, and now you can have conversations about architecture and design, I think it's extremely important. So, I definitely agree. It's about, what is seen, what is even possible in the first place goes a long way.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dami. And, just speaking of desktop design, that's why we actually exist, to bridge the gap, of exposure, leverage, sharing resources as much as possible, Thank you so much, Brace, for sharing that. Let's keep that dream. I like what you shared about, Nigeria needs to catch up. Yeah, we're doing pretty fine, okay, but having moved from Lagos, to North America has been, very eye-opening to, so I totally agree with you. Don't worry, we're all coming home. All we are there to give back, like Dan has mentioned, I will definitely be happy to. I was going to also call Okoya Johnson. Over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I'm a student, an undergrad student of Federal University of Technology, Akure. And yes, I must say, Sir Oluwatobi, thank you very much for this initiative. Thank you so much for Let's Talk Design. Like, the conversation today has really been eye-opening, and during the talk of Damilola Fadun. One thing I was opened up to is the fact that your location really matters, and the the faster you know about that, the better. So when you know that you're quite distant, like from the rest of the world, you have to bridge the gap between that distance, and you have to open up yourself to that the opportunities that legitly or normally the people where you are don't have access to. And so, I was reading this book, Outliers, Story of Success, and I was seeing the likes of Bill Gates, Bill Joy, albeit that they were open up to opportunities at some certain times, and that's what really made them stand out, even in this generation. And so I'm now more inclined towards, researching opportunities to just, help better myself, help better, me in the field. And one thing iconic really about Zaha Hadid architecture is yes, the forms, and well, not really, it's not even really about the forms, but how the construction goes on. Like, at sometimes I just when I view images, create images of the designs, I see like the sections. I'm like trying to cut the images in my face. I mean, yes, right in front of me, and like look into how these designs were actually constructed, how the materials, materialism, how everything works together basically. And I'm quite wild. I'm like, these guys are really, really good at their thing. Though just like Sapri said, it's not really embraced in Nigerian architecture schools per se. They're just like do the box thing. If you do that kind of thing, they would bash. Let me use Nigerian street language. They will bash and critique your work. But yes, just like he said, we are not preparing ourselves to be small. We're not preparing ourselves to be mediocre. We're not preparing ourselves to, just sit at one corner and see because I am confined by some certain laws, and then just stay there, and then, but yes, we're for world class, and so we keep researching, checking what works, and trying to be the very best and give back to the community, because that's even really what architecture is. Designing what improves the lives of people. Yes. So that's all for me. Thank you so very much, Mr. Damilola. We really appreciate your time. God bless.
And lastly, thank you so much, Okoya Johnson. And lastly, I'd like to invite our host to share and give us a feedback of what she did and introduce herself. And also especially say thank you to her. So I'm handing over the baton to her, and then she closes up. Thank you, babe.
Thank you so much, Toby. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And I think what I just learned from everything, even from Let's Talk Design so far since we started, is I know we have like great ideas. We have so many things we want to do, but at times it feels like it's too big for us to handle. Like, see the way Dami just, got into Zaha Hadid. If he was just staying in one place, not improving his skills, not reaching out to his professor, he wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. So I'm just saying it, we're in December, we're entering the next year. I think for everyone on this call, more than just, having big dreams, we should start, implementing the ideas we have, and just, aim high. You don't know who is watching you basically. And, one thing about social media, like what Dami said, the way Jensler reached out to him. If he had not started, if people were not seeing his content, see people already talking about how they follow him and the great things they are learning from him. So I think for me, one thing I would just say is whatever great ideas you have, just start. I know sometimes it might be scary, sometimes it might be a bit difficult, but if you don't start, if you don't let the world see what you are doing, nobody is going to really know how good you are. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Toby. Thank you so much, Dami. Dami is a very busy person, like trust me, and he was able to make out time. I'm sure Dami would have wanted to play football, like rest his, social life balance, but like he was able to make out time for us today. And thank you so much, everyone. And we look forward to you guys next year. Let's Talk Design is coming up with more ideas, more ways to bridge the gap here in Nigeria, and also more ways to collaborate. You can also reach out to us if you want to collaborate with us. If there's any feedback, if there are things you want us to work on our end, I'm very happy to do that. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And we really, really appreciate you guys.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Dami. If we were at a physical conference, I would have just asked for a selfie before we go.
Honestly.
We've done enough screenshots, so thank you so much, guys. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Here is out.